when you go through something like this, it will just change your world, like forever. And we came out of it better people.
So let's talk about Monty. I've obviously now I'm a father of two, and I noticed a shift for me when it comes to just hearing stories like this and just seeing things and reading things. I'm just so much more aware of how it must have been, and like I can put myself not in your shoes, but I can. I mean, we had our second in August. I remember it was a long labour, so it was like 2 days no sleep.
Yeah.
You know, we were just living in the room. Nothing was happening. Then it was happening. Then it wasn't, and it's just like such a stressful time. And then we've got the 2-year-old at home. We don't have a nanny, so trying to time that. At one point, she was in the labour room with us.
Oh, really?
And she was climbing up the walls, out and trying to look out the window. And my wife's on the ball, just trying to breathe. And we were like, this is not helping. And I don't think we need this stress. And my brother was moving to Dubai. He was on a flight. And we were thinking, if we go into like full labour now, and my brother's not here to look after my daughter, then she's going to be in here with us. So it was just such a stressful time. And eventually we had the baby boy. It was amazing. And it was like, we were in the same room as we had our first.
Okay.
And, you know, you just, like, you know what it's like, just like emotion. You've had no sleep. Everything.
You
like
can't
you see
explain
it, and you can't explain it. And then, so everything was great, and the doctor came in, and you know, you have on that little bed, and he said, his words were, and I remember it, and he said, "I'm not happy," and I was like, my feeling just changed so quick, and it was just like, I was like so angry. I was like, "What do you mean you're not happy? Like, I've just had this like amazing experience. I've not slept for 2 days." He's like, "It looks great." They weighed him. He was quite big. And I think they were worried about diabetes or something, but he was making a little noise, which my daughter made as well. I think they're just like, they call it grunting. And they're like, no, we need to do blood tests. And I was like, no way, like, there's no chance of like taking him for blood tests. And so I had to like argue with the midwife. I was like, look, he's fine, let him just have, like, he's feeding really well, just give some. And then came back an hour later, and he was almost like just this voice of doom, and he was so serious. There was no, like, if he'd have just said, look, everything's great, it's fine, because his vitals were good, just making a noise, so let's keep an eye on it. But the way he spoke to me was really bad, and I just, and it turned out to be nothing, but they tested him all night in NICU, and just going into NICU, I couldn't even speak to my wife. Right. Honestly, I couldn't even, and I said to her, I was like, I just can't, I can't cope with it. Like, it's just, and there was nothing wrong, but they were doing the blood test in the heel, and he was crying, and it was just so much, so I can't even, you know, and then luckily he was okay, but just, that's nothing, you know what I mean? But just to go through that, and then to see like your story just makes me realise as a father, like, how strong you all must have been, like the family, your wife. And
one thing that we took from it is how strong as humans we are. Like I say, put me in a room now with anybody, I would be the strongest person you'll meet. Maybe not physically by any means, but mentally, I would. It's when you even just mention NIC, just giving me that fear. Yeah. Fuck it. It was the noises, the machines, the other people, the families that you'd see day in, day out. It's actually, when we had Delilah, we had to go to the different, was it Medi clinic, but she had that noise, grunting. Yeah. And the doctor said, we've got to take her in. And I went, absolutely not. I said, I can't walk in there. Kirsty had obviously had C-section, so she was like bedbound. And I was like, I can't do it. And like, we've got to take her in, we have to. And I walked into that thing with her, and literally I just looked at parents who were sat there, and it was like, shit. And I left her in there, and I went back to the room with Kirsty, and we didn't sleep. And he brought her back in the morning, it's like everything's, and I was like, I was like, there's nothing that would, I knew she was going to be fine. I said, no matter what happens in this world, that would never happen to us again. Like, ever. Like, what we went through, nobody could ever, whatever you believe in, whatever things are out there, that could never happen again. So I was never worried, but it was just walking back into that room and hearing the noises, seeing the people, and I was like, oh my God, like, it was I can't awful. It's like really bad. Just seeing the kids in there, and I just had to turn away, and I was crying.
I didn't want to show that I was crying. It was like,
it was
and I was just hanging on every single word the doctor said. I was waiting. I was like, because they were doing the blood oxygen test, and we were literally just like, just couldn't take it. So yeah, what you've been
it was meant to. It literally was something which I say to people now, like, if somebody dies now, in my life, whether it be your nan, your auntie, your parents, whatever, you're taught that at school. At school, you learn that.
You're ready.
You learn it
to a degree.
When you go through something like this, it will just change your world, forever. And we came out of it better people. Yeah. I mean, what happened to us and losing a child, like even saying it's a mental thing to say, but we came out of that as like a stronger couple, like as our vision on life completely changed. Like we were put into something which other people wouldn't have come out normal. And I've met people who have turned into some very, very different people. People who have gone down some very dark holes, and it's very easy to do. I think it could have been very easy, but for me, my thing, which I always said to everyone, was that I've got to be there for Kirsty and Tallulah, because if they haven't got me, then they haven't got anyone. So I said, no matter what happens, I'll have my moments. I'll go do what I need to do, but I will put on the face every day to them too that I will be there, strong enough to conquer anything. And it was just, we were very fortunate actually that when this was all happening, we were working closely with the salons at the time. So you imagine if you had a full-time job, you're working for a company, and these little things that happen, we could be there every day for 10 weeks. We were there. During COVID, you'd only have 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. Every single day, we're the first people outside that door, banging on the door to get in. Do that, 2 hours there, leave our daughter at home, come back for 3 hours, have lunch with Tallulah, do some work, and then we'd be straight back up there. 10 weeks it was. 10 weeks. Every single day. And we were singing there thinking, if I had a corporate job or I had to do this, I saw these other people who were coming every other day or something like that, and it was just, we were very fortunate to be in a position that
you got to
we'd be there and then have like every day with him, every moment that we could. Mental.
And so it was MTM, right? TM was the...
It was myotubular myopathy. Myotubular myopathy, which again, it was just a generic disease. Just you couldn't, we knew nothing about it prior to the pregnancy.
No.
And even if there,
no signs or anything.
Nothing. Like my wife was huge. Like if you saw photos of her, it was like there was 4 kids in there. But that was towards like the end.
Right.
And obviously we then found out that came because he couldn't swallow.
Right.
Because he couldn't swallow, there was a build-up of fluids going around him. When he did come out, and I see this image as clear as day. We had like an emergency C-section. They pulled him out, and it was just like a limp, and I was just like, "What?" And they just took him onto this machine, and we never saw his face, apart from when he was born. We never saw his face till he died, because he always had a mask on. It was only after he died that we actually sat there and saw his face properly. And that was a killer. That was messed up to and he was such a beautiful little such a beautiful little boy. That was unreal how much he impacted us and how much he changed us and changed our lives really.
For the better.
100%. 100%.
What are they with this disorder? Are they researching into it?
So we've done, they've done a lot of tests, and there was some recently. We've done a lot of charity work actually back in the UK afterwards, and I've obviously since written books about him, which we have actually quite a few more coming out, but it's just getting around to doing it all. But they'd run tests, and then something would happen, and it wouldn't work. But there's nothing which is there's nothing curable. And I'll never forget the day that we got the diagnosis. That was the day which that's when you knew. Like,
and how long was that into the 10 weeks?
6 weeks. Like, so for 6 weeks I was saying to my wife, there's nothing wrong with him. Nothing wrong. My wife's sitting there every night Googling. He's got this, he's got that, he's got this. And then the doctors weren't giving anything. I said, until somebody tells me that so they'd done all this testing, they had to send everything off to Germany, do all these tests on him. And I never forget, we left the hospital. 2 or 3 days before, my wife looked at me and this fucks me, this does. She goes, she looked at me, just got out of the hospital. And I was driving, she looked at me and she went, he's going to be all right, isn't he? I said, he's going to be sweet, isn't it? I said, he's going to be fine. And 2 days later, we sat in the hospital with him, said our goodbyes, and we do every day, got in the car in the hospital, the phone rang in this hospital, I was like, that's weird. They're like, can you come back up? And I looked at Kirsten and I was like, okay, let's go. And they took us into a room and there was 3 doctors already there, I think like 4 nurses. And they said, we got the results back. And I was like, okay. And then they said what it was. And then Kirst kept saying to the doctors, but is he brain damaged? Like, no, he's not brain damaged. And she's getting excited, like, this is amazing. But I'm reading at the same time the paper, she's talking to him. And they said, you know, life expectancy is like no more than a couple of years with this disease. And it was at that point where it was like somebody just stabbed me, and I was like, there's nothing. We literally was in the hospital the day after and was like, right, what can we buy? We'll put him on a machine, so to track it. So I think so that it breathes, because obviously he couldn't breathe. His muscles didn't work, so he couldn't breathe by himself. So as soon as you take him off a life support machine, the body doesn't work. So we said, right, we'll buy this machine. I think it's 150,000 dirhams. Buy the machine, we'll bring it home. And then we'd be thinking, hang on, if we're going to bring him home and he's going to be there, then my daughter's going to get attached to my son. And then my daughter's going to see this life for him. And it was just a very, very, but we would have done anything. Anything in this world we could have given him. But even the British Embassy, we had a plane that was going to come in, take him, and actually they'd arranged that to bring a plane in to get him. But it would have been too risky with all the machines and everything to do it. And then the annoying thing was that the UK was so messed up with the whole thing that we couldn't have, if we landed there with him, we wouldn't have been able to go, because this whole you got to be, it was COVID, so you had to be, you would have to be separated. And there were so many messed up things, and that was the thing which hurt as well, is that nobody got to meet him. Do you know what? My mum and dad weren't able to fly out to just see him, touch him, and that's the UK government, and you know all that stuff came out afterwards about them having their own little shindigs in the government. It just made me hate them even more. That they go back to their normal lives, and we had something which could never be like,
you can't get that back.
You can never get that back, and it could have, if these bastards were able to do that, why couldn't my parents have just flown out
just for one,
just to see him?
More visit.
Hurt me, that did.
Yeah,
made me very angry.
Yeah,
very angry, that did.
Yeah. Turning.
Cheers, thank you.
So